Come on in. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about 5 more weird, wild, and memorable ways Survivor players customized their voting parchments over the course of their season. Last week, I looked at what I consider the top 5 most memorable and iconic ways players customized their votes. From Coach's secret attempt at an alphanumeric message on his voting parchments, to Eric's comic book fonts, to Jenny's accidentally offensive doodles, and everything in between. But I feel there are more iconic ways survivors cast their votes that I left on the table, or voting booth. From a Survivor legend with a grudge match against the letter A, to a spacey new era icon who shouted out his employer every time he voted, to a Season 1 player who wrote at least some of her votes backwards and upside down for some reason. These 5 players and their unique voting parchments will constitute numbers 10 through 6, but feel free to watch the original video before this one, if you'd like. All that said, let's count down 5 more Survivor players who customized all of their votes in really strange ways. At number 10 is Donathan from Survivor Ghost Island, who always put an exclamation mark at the end of the name of each person he voted for. In Ghost Island, Donathan chose to put an increasing amount of exclamation marks on each vote he cast, before ultimately abandoning this idea. His first vote for Gonzalez, though, he put a question mark, which is personally the punctuation I would use to summarize his game if I had to. But his next vote for Morgan, he puts an exclamation mark. The following vote for Bradley, he goes double. And his fourth vote for Chris, he goes triple exclamation marks. Now, at this point, we're going to be running out of parchment, so he switches over to a sad face when voting for Michael, but starts back up again on the exclamations with his vote for Desiree. And from here on out, it will only be 1 exclamation mark per vote. I think it's kind of fun that we were watching his style develop in real time, abandoning the ever-increasing exclamations for a single one halfway through. That said, and all due respect to Donathan, but I'm not sure Donathan's game is really worthy of any exclamation marks, considering he helped hand Wendell and Dom the keys to the castle with his passive gameplay. Although I admire the late-game rogue pivot, even if it came too late. I just find it a little funny that the exclamation adds a completely unnecessary oomph to votes for people like Desiree and Chelsea. Like, yeah. You follow those orders, Donathan. You do Dom and Wendell's dirty work. At number 9 is Mike from Survivor Worlds Apart, who began putting custom doodles on his votes halfway through the game. Like Eric and his individualized fonts on each vote, Mike didn't settle into his little doodles until the midpoint of the game. But it's clear from the jump he had big ideas in mind. His first vote in the game is for Lindsay, or Lincia. Wait, it's a tie? Hold on, let's try that again. Lincia. Starting with his vote for Jen in episode 10, though, and continuing through the rest of the season, Mike drew custom artwork on each vote. The Jen one, I've never really understood completely. Is she just a big fan of the 2000s animated movie Chicken Run? Anyway, we've also got his famous glasses vote for Tyler. Not that he could see it. Put those peepers on, buddy. A bearded vote for Dan, an incredible vote for Sierra where the I is lassoing the A, and for Rodney, a Rodney. Beautiful. Mike's doodles were a fun bright spot in an otherwise pretty dark season, and I appreciate his efforts to keep his votes silly and lighthearted when his back was against the wall, even if it's not the best artwork in the world. I mean, let's be real, he's no Jenny. At number 8 is Colby across his entire Survivor career, who replaced all of his letter A's with a triangle. Throughout his 3 Survivor appearances, Colby's game has been in some way representative of each type of literary conflict. In Survivor Australia, we have man against nature, the brutal elements of the outback. In Survivor All-Stars, we have man against man, as Colby goes toe-to-toe strategically with Survivor legends like Rich, Lex, and Sheehan. And in Survivor Heroes vs. Villains, we have man against self, as Colby reckons with his failures as a player. And throughout each of these literary conflicts, Colby's all the while waging a war on the written word itself. From the second vote he ever cast down to his last, for Sandra nearly 10 years later, Colby replaced every A on his vote parchments with a triangle. Why? Was he leaving a symbol so he could say who he voted for? Is he Illuminati? Is he just a simple man who likes shapes? These triangles are so memorable that they've transcended Colby, as Survivor superfan Shireen even referenced them during her vote for Dan in episode 8 of Survivor Worlds Apart. Somewhat strangely, a few normal A's do squeak by in Colby's voting history, notably his first vote for Sugar in Heroes vs. Villains. What does it mean? Is there some sort of deeper meaning here? Is he sending us some sort of signal to decode? Put on your tinfoil hats, folks. I think I'm onto a new Survivor conspiracy here. I mean, it has to be something like that. No way it was just early game nerves making him forget how he stylizes his A's. I mean, this is the face of a man, self-assured and confident in the game to come. At number 7 is Gretchen in Survivor Borneo, who wrote her votes backwards, right to left, and sometimes upside down. You know, there have been some iconic misspellings in Survivor history. Suna, wrestle, scoop in, Yahul, can dance. Okay, I could be here all day. But few players have managed to misspell a letter. Back in the day, much was made of Gretchen's vote for Joel in episode 6 of Survivor Borneo, particularly what appears to be her bizarre habit of writing backwards and upside down, resulting in a parchment that is less Survivor vote and more ransom note, complete with a backwards letter J. We can also see in episode 2 that she does begin writing her vote for BB on the right-hand side, so it appears this was not just a one-off. Fan speculation was rampant at the time. The primary speculation to come out of this was that Gretchen was writing backwards and upside down to either obscure her own votes, or that she was somehow doing this for the benefit of the cameras, and no producer bothered to step in to tell her this wasn't necessary. Which, yeah, that would track for season 1. At number 6 is Carson in Survivor 44, who wrote all of his votes in the NASA font. There's no way you could watch Survivor 44 and not know Carson works for NASA. It was all over his preseason press, on his merch, it was in his lower third, and it was in each vote he cast. Honestly, you've got to admire the commitment to the branding. Nevertheless, I don't think most fans at home really caught on to what Carson was doing with his votes until his third vote for Franny in episode 8. His first 2 votes for Helen and Josh are stylized, sure, but at least for me, I didn't put 2 and 2 together until that third one. Maybe this is why he tweeted about it after the Josh vote. Look, man, I'm sorry I didn't notice. I was just too busy trying to figure out why the entire Soka tribe was nuking their game from orbit this round. By the end of the game, everyone else is on to Carson's voting habits, too. Both Franny and Jamie seemed to know their goose was cooked when they saw their names come up in the NASA font. And when Heidi and Danny take a shot at Carson in episode 11, Heidi even does the A NASA style in tribute. Overall, it's a risky strategy to have your vote be so obvious every time. But for Carson, at least, it did pay off strategically when Danny was trying to figure out who put the second vote on his name following the Franny boot. He safely rules out Carson. Honestly, it's just impressive that Carson learned to accurately write an entire established font before coming on to Survivor. I'm not sure anyone's ever actually done that. The man's preseason prep was second to none. All I'm going to say about it is, someone please do Papyrus next. Got nothing else for ya. If this video made you exclaim more than Donathan in the voting booth, like and subscribe, and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.